Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and today I would like to share with you all my final thoughts on the Miguron Knives Moyarl Crossbar Lock Edition. Of course, there was the very first original with the liner lock. That one, it's a hit or miss for a lot of people because some people had disengagement issues with the rather thin liner lock. I personally owned one of the original ones of early production, and it was excellent. I never had any issues with it. They are still pumping out a butt ton of different colorways using different scale materials and also different finishes now on the blade. There are stonewash, there are satin, and now they're having PVD in different colors, which is awesome. And talking about the PVD, this one actually has a black PVD coating. I've never, at least from what I can remember, I think this is probably one of the only knives I've ever experienced that has a PVD coating. Really, the only thing above this would be the DLC coating, but mainly on like my Spyderco's, which is the matte finish, so it looks quite similar. I'll hold them up side by side when we get into some size comparisons because I have a couple knives that have that coating from Spyderco. There are 3 different places where I've seen that you could buy this particular design. There are 3 different colorways, but the one you see before you is just black on black, has silver pivot, crossbar lock, all hardware. Also has a PVD coated titanium pocket clip, which is excellent. I freaking love that pocket clip. It's so perfect. But we'll get into that a little bit later. The price on these guys, they are $59.95, and that is during the recording of this video. I think that's an excellent price point. On Amazon, it's also the same price while supplies last. They are available. Another source would be White Mountain Knives. Same exact price, but they're not in stock at the moment. But you can just, put the notify me button and then use like a discount code or something from another YouTube channel. So there is that. We're gonna do some size comparisons here. Let's just do a little up close on what this thing is all about. 14C 28N blade material, which is borderline super steel for what it is. For the budget, this is like budget super steel. It really is. I love 14C. It's great. Avocado shaped hole or whatever other fruit or vegetable you want to relate it to, I guess. See this nice milled pocket clip, all T8 hardware. Freaking beautiful. Absolutely love it. Let's get into some size comparisons, and we'll talk about that coating in a second. Just some visuals. I don't do any like super hardcore testing between finishes and durability and that kind of stuff. It's just day-to-day carry, and just, I do a lot of cardboard destruction. That's about it. So up here we have the full-size RSK by Doug Ritter. Here is the Spyderco PM2. As you can see, the PM2, while it's not as new as this is a DLC coating, and it's a matte finish, so it's a very low effort, I guess, finish. There are plenty of things that you can do with DLC. You can tumble it, you can polish it, and it is absolutely beautiful. I've seen some very beautiful finish with DLC, but Spyderco typically does this, and there's nothing really wrong with it. So it works, it does the job just fine, and I quite enjoy it. There are some smudge marks that easily get onto it, but it's really easy to clean. Same as a PVD, which is awesome. So I did a butt ton of cardboard destruction with the moyarl, and with just a little wipe of some like Clorox wipes, it came off. Like no scrubbing, no nothing needed. So it's a lot less effort to clean than Spyderco's matte DLC. So if that means anything to you guys, there you go. Here we have the Wii Praxis. Down below is the Civivi Vision FG. So it is a little bit shorter, but one cool design aspect is that all 3 of these, you do actually have a forward finger space. This is probably the roomiest here because there's really nothing in the way. This, it gets a little bit tight in there, not by much, and this, you do have a flipper tab there. So the grip and the amount of space you have to kind of scooch up or down, quite similar on all those 2 other comparison size. This is another one with the, forward finger troll in a way, but a little bit less blade length. It's just shorter overall. This is the Native 5 by Spyderco. I don't know why I stumbled over that one. Another wonderful knife. This is the Wharncliffe Elementum by Civivi. Again, a place to rest your finger on. It's one of my favorite things. You're not going to see too many like absolute favorite knives of mine where you can't choke up, because I love doing that. I love that design aspect. You do sacrifice, you know, some usable blade length, but for my urban EDC kind of lifestyle, I mean, even in my workplace, cardboard and plastic, that's all I go through. That's it. I'm not chopping down trees, I'm not slaughtering animals, I'm not defending America, I'm not doing anything crazy. Cardboard and plastic, that's all I go through. And this is excellent at that. This has been it's kind of been up and down with me. I had a good bit of issues with this. First impressions, I was honestly really disappointed in the execution, mainly because of the Omega Springs. The Omega Springs that were in here, I'm going to be completely blunt and honest, and if I offend people, doesn't matter, because I'm just some random crackhead with a phone and willing to share his opinion. The Omega Springs in here are absolute freaking trash from the factory, and they absolutely need to include new ones or start making them with stronger ones, better ones. There are cheap alternatives out there. You can go ahead and purchase extra Omega Springs. I have well, not an actual personal link, but I have the actual the one listing that I purchased from on Amazon, dirt cheap, like borderline free for how many Omega Springs you actually get. And you can use them on all different types of knives. They're the standard size, they're not the extra large, they're not the small. This would fit, I would say, anything from Benchmade, if you are a Benchmade fan. So of course, a bug out the 940, which is awesome. If you have any of like the Hogue knives, even ones that are made for Doug Ritter, like the RSK, most likely fit on the smaller one, and they might be a little bit underpowered for the larger one, but I think I have similarly sized ones in here as well, and honestly, it's better than the ones that they give to you through their customer service. So there is that. So Chinese Omega Springs, they're definitely the way to go, at least in my experience, and they make this knife a whole lot more enjoyable. If you own this knife and you like it, if you don't buy extra Omega Springs, or you don't have stronger Omega Springs, you are robbing yourself of a much better, more satisfying, snappier experience. And that's just me. This is a whole lot snappier. I can put a whole lot more force behind it, and it feels just a lot more solid overall. One of the issues that I had during the unboxing was I had side-to-side play, which I easily fixed by, you know, tightening down the pivot, no big deal. But I had a good bit of up and down, and that was really discouraging. Now, a lot of crossbar lock, locking knives, that's a common thing, but it's not so much accepted now that, you know, newer designs are coming out. Eventually, that issue, while it is common, works itself out, whether it's because of the coating, if the actual blade tang has a coating. Right there, we see where the bar will actually engage and slide up onto it. See how that slid up on there? There are some manufacturers that they will apply the coating in that spot right there, and while it wears away, it can cause a little bit of slip, a little bit of up and down. That could be a safety issue, which is no good. This being a, you know, finger safe, you know, opening and closing mechanism for a knife to actually be able to slip and disengage during use, it kind of defeats the purpose of the design overall. And I'm not gonna tell you guys to go spend your money on that. That's stupid. But there are things that can help. The Omega Springs in here were so underpowered and so weak that I had the up and down. The second that I turned my camera off, went to go order some nice Omega Springs, relatively inexpensive, I installed them in a couple days later, and I didn't use a knife between then and when I put the new Omega Springs. It went away completely. So the knife essentially got to break in, brand new, fresh from the factory, with new Omega Springs that I put in here, and it is excellent. zero up and down. Like, I really gotta muscle it, and now I do have full faith in this for, you know, what it is. It's still a, you know, a lighter duty urban environment kind of knife. You're not going to be doing heavy game breaking down, or you're not going to be busting down doors or anything crazy with this overall knife. It is relatively, you know, small and compact, not tactical in any sense, despite, you know, the colorway, right? But yeah, that's my little spiel. Get yourself some extra Omega Springs. Unfortunately, they do not include extra Omega Springs, and if they did, it would probably be the same shit ones that came with it. So just, if you have crossbar locking knives and you just want to get them to that little step right above for satisfaction, lockup, solidity, and just snappiness, I mean, the retention is not that much more. It's not going to be ripping the skin off your thumb or the, you know, or your nail or anything. It's not going to be doing any sort of damage. It's just the retention is weaker than a standard detent having knife. So it is softer, but it's not mushy and cheap feeling. So getting these guys, the aftermarket Omega Springs, has made a world of a difference. But that is going to be a mark against Miguron for not including Omega Spring knives. Budget Chinese-made Omega Spring knives have been around long enough for them not to have a valid excuse not to include them. While this is their first attempt into a crossbar locking knife, I think this was an excellent platform. The overall shape of the moyarl is wonderful, and I hope that they do this with other designs in the future. If they make a what's it called, the Kyrix, the Kyrix or Kyrix 2. I had the premium version of that. I've since sold it, unfortunately. So sad. I did love that knife for, you know, the time that I had it, but I think if they made a budget Kyrix and they, you know, had the crossbar lock mechanism on it, and they actually included extra Omega Springs and good Omega Springs to begin with, that would be a absolute banger and workhorse of a knife. That would probably end up becoming neck and neck with the moyarl itself, because that is a what would you call that blade shape? The Kyrix. It was a sheep's footed Warncliffe kind of utilitarian style knife. This is full belly, and while it still is excellent in the workplace, there is a clear difference in, I guess, use and convenience when it comes to, you know, either or blade shape. So, but even still, it's a great looking knife. I love the design. I love that they have captured pivot, all T8 hardware. Their pocket clip on this thing is just wonderful, and it looks really simple and kind of boring, but when you start to look at some of the details on here, and what makes it so perfect in my eyes is that it looks like a standard popsicle style clip, but it's not. Let me see if I have an example of Wii's, or I suppose Civivi's, but this would fit on, you know, their clips too. Who else? CGRB, Artisan Cutlery. They also have aftermarket pocket clips, milled titanium. It's cool, you know, inexpensive little thing that you could add for a visual appeal, I suppose, and comfort. But this is straight popsicle, relatively thin milled, but you could see the pinch point down there is much more aggressive. Still goes in and out of the pocket really well, but if you look at the one that Miguron does, it actually has a little bit of curve to it. It kind of pinches inwards. It's really, really subtle, and it's a visual thing, nothing crazy, where it kind of flattens out right there. See that? And then it flattens out. Very, very smooth transition, but the ramp for the pocket, it is so subtle, it is so gentle on your pockets, and I think it is in actual use, in what it feels like in pocket, it's a whole lot better and a whole lot more premium feeling than what Civivi is doing. So while this is still relatively cheap and inexpensive, I believe it's around the same cost as a milled clip that you can get off of Miguron's website. I think this is a much better design, and I love it. One of the things that is kind of sad is that lefty people can't really enjoy this as much because there is no filler tab or space to mount for lefties. This is an ambidextrous styled knife, and while I am right hand dominant, this is extremely easy to manipulate. Sorry, that's me. fingers are a little slick. It's cold in here and I can't really feel my freaking fingers right now. But as you can see, it is relatively easy even for a non-lefty person to operate. So it is kind of a bummer that they didn't have a mounting position, and it wouldn't really have ruined any sort of aesthetic because this isn't a aesthetic forward knife. This is simple, utilitarian, budget oriented. So you're not really thinking about like, you know, super crazy details and textures, or oh, this little thing poking out of here, it's gonna ruin the overall flow of that. No, this isn't that kind of knife. It's not, and it probably never will be, and that's fine. But I personally think that there should have been some way to mount it for lefties because it is an ambidextrous style knife and lefties should be able to enjoy it. So there's that. I did mention I think I did. They have a captured pivot, which is nice. So keeping their little emblem nice and straight so it doesn't, you know, move around and whatnot. But that is pretty much it. There's not much more to go over. The liners here, they're proud steel liners. They're not shadow box. They're actually in line with everything else. Not a big deal. If they were inset, that would be, of course, a premium cost, and this would be closer to $100 knife, honestly, if there was more milling time and inset and things like that. I do think that it is a little odd that they didn't use micarta for the backspacer. They used black G10. And that's definitely black G10 because the grain structure and the color is just a little bit off. It's a little bit darker. With their micarta, it's excellent in hand. Looks good. It, you know, patinas well with your hand oils. It also cleans up really well. So that's nice. Very well chamfered. There's no cracks. There's no like extra fuzz. This feels like excellently finished micarta. And while it does look flat, it is just so slightly contoured, and it just lends itself to an excellent grip. There is no jimping on the spine, but it doesn't need it. This isn't, again, going to be a hard use knife, but for what it is, excellent blade material. The edge was not impressive at all from the factory, but I'm gonna call it a one-off. 14C28N is super easy to sharpen. I think there's a 17 or 18 degree edge on this. I did blaze through a butt ton of thick cardboard, and even still, this thing is ready to go. I don't need to touch this up for a good while. So, but after my first reprofiling and sharpening, you could see that it did kind of crawl back up there, and it doesn't look as visually appealing, but that's just kind of because of the full bellied blade shape that it is. That also is because of my sharpening skill. I'm definitely not a professional. Can I get a hair popping edge? Absolutely, but anybody else can as well. So I'm not doing anything special or fancy by any means, but because of the blade shape, I'd say that this is actually an excellent blade shape for somebody to practice freehand sharpening or even just testing out a new guided system. I use the Wicked Edge. I'm not sure which model it is specifically, but it has like the fancy stone base that you know, you can throw in for I think like an extra $100. But you can mount it to a block of wood if you wanted to. You don't have to get the stone base. But the Wicked Edge system is my one and only sharpening system, and there are some ups and downs to it. Eventually, one day I want to do a review on that thing, but as it is, I actually really like this. I do recommend it. The only thing is that these make a world of a difference. If I didn't buy these, I would be giving a much different review. So there had to be some, you know, outside force intervention for me to actually be able to give a good review on this. Because if not, I don't know how different this actually would have been. But there's that. Do I recommend it? Yes, if you get extra Omega springs. That's about it. If you guys enjoyed this, oh, you know what? Let me do the weight real quick. I did the weight on the unboxing, but just to show it off real quick. 3.3, nothing crazy. All right, well, that's it. All right, sorry. If you guys enjoy this, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support and your patience, of course. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, because I have plenty more videos and content coming your guys' way. With that being said, have a wonderful rest of your day.